Hey, welcome to Leading with Gratitude Live. I'm your host, Chester Elton, the Apostle of Appreciation, coming to you from the new gratitude virus epicenter of the universe, Summit, New Jersey. This is 30 minutes of information, inspiration, and your own personal roadmap to a life of gratitude at work and at home. All brought to you on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube from the amazing people at the Methods Network. Well, listen, our guest today is the incomparable, the incredible Chris Schembra. Let's go to the Smash Reel and let me tell you a little bit about him. Chris is a keynote speaker, in facilitating profound human connection in a deeply disconnected world. He is regularly called by elite entrepreneurs, corporate executives, and award-winning creatives. In theater, Chris serves as a producing partner at O. Henry Productions and formerly as producer of M&A Productions. Listen to this. His shows have been involved and earned 14 Tony Awards, 7 Emmys, and a Grammy. As a marketer, he's led an Emmy Award-winning social campaign with over 1 million participants, over 1 million, helping to lower the suicide and depression rate among veterans with PSTD. How great is that? His direct work has been talked about in Forbes, Inc., Entrepreneur, the New York Times, Variety Magazine, Fox News Channel, Huffington Post, Bravo TV, Newsmax TV, Thrive Global, Good Morning New York, and many more. And I'm glad there weren't more. I ran out of breath. He's the author of the soon-to-become New York Times bestselling book, Gratitude and Pasta, The Secret Sauce to Human Connection. He's also known as the Chief Question Asker. He always says, hope y'all are having a phenomenal day on Earth. Remember, it's your world. Go explore. So let's explore the world of pasta and gratitude with my good friend, Chris Schembra. And Chris, in your honor, it's lunchtime here. I've got a little Capelli d'Angelo with the vodka sauce, a little bit of Pizzelli, the Grana Padano on top. And I paired it with a lovely 2020 Dr. Pepper with cream soda. So really brings out
the perfect vintage, my friend.
So welcome to the show. How are you feeling today?
Thanks for having me, Chester. You know, it's great. It's a weird thing to say, but we're broadcasting here from the center of everything in New York City. And this is one of the first days that we hear more bird chirping than ambulance sirens in the background. So that's a good day for me.
That is awesome. So tell us about, your gratitude and pasta. And first off, you do these dinners. So what's the story behind the dinners, the pasta dinners? Talk to me.
Yeah, in the last 4 years, we've used the dinner table to spark over 400,000 relationships around the dinner table. And it all started back in July of 2015. By that point, I had been in show business for 5 years already. And while everything looked good on paper, on the inside, I felt the complete opposite. The tipping point was in July of 2015. I'd just come back from Italy after producing a Broadway play over there. And when I got back here to New York City, I essentially realized I felt 4 things: lonely, unfulfilled, disconnected, and insecure. Life, to me, I was not living up to my potential. And in that darkness, I knew I had to do something. I knew that left unchecked, that darkness would lead me down the road of suicide, depression, jail, rehab that had caught up with me in my earlier years. And in that darkness, I thought back to, what did I love most about Italy? It was the food. So I started fiddling around in my kitchen and accidentally created a pasta sauce recipe and figured I should probably feed it to people to see if it's even good or not. So I invited friends over for dinner. We fed them the sauce. Because I was a little bit of a lazy guy, I actually invited them into the kitchen and delegated 11 specific tasks to get them to work together to create the meal. And through hours of eating together and working together and talking together, I realized that we were onto something. At that very first dinner, we asked a simple question: if you could give credit or thanks to one person in your life that you don't give enough credit and thanks to, who would that be? And we realized when we asked that question, people came alive. They told amazing stories of their mothers, their fathers, their uncles, their doctors, their dogs, and we realized we were onto something, and so we just never stopped.
I love the story about the gratitude question. And you and I talked about the power of that question as opposed to other questions. And while you answer, I'm going to have some of my Capelli d'Angelo. Go ahead.
You know, it's so it's so interesting, Chester, when people, these days when people meet others out at events, they might just go up to someone and say, "Hey, what do you do? Where do you work? What do you sell? What do you do?" That's very surface level stuff. And when people try to go deep, they might ask questions like, what's your biggest fear? What's your biggest failure? What's your greatest regret? But in our opinion, when you ask someone that question when you first meet them, it's a very intimidating set of questions. So instead of asking these intimidating questions around the dinner table, we started asking this gratitude question, which gave our attendees the opportunity to share stories of others, right? Stanford University did a study called The Strength of Weak Ties, which found that vital information is best passed through a social network through a weak connection. And when you can get people sharing stories of others, this third party weak tie, you'll learn more about that storyteller in those few minutes of their share than you could have in years of knowing them. And we realized we were onto something after we realized that.
I first met you on your podcast, and I remember you asked me that question, and it sparked. We must have talked for 20 minutes on, how grateful I was for my son Carter, and I love that you get to share about who you're really grateful for, and really bring out those great memories. Now, so you decided to put all this into a book, and there's always a story about why did you write the book, who inspired you to write the book, and you've got a particularly good one. So why did you write the book, Chris?
First of all, I have to credit people like you and my buddies like Dan Schawbell, Dory Clark, David Burkus, V. Band, so many authors that I've grown up knowing, loving, trusting, following, and we wouldn't be here today without the group of y'all. But really, the impetus started with the accidental push of someone I had just met. So it was Saturday, October 6th, 2018, in Seattle, Washington. I was at my buddy Phoebe and Sean's wedding out in Seattle. And the wedding was so beautiful. The ceremony was to die for. So much love and attention to detail. Well, during the reception, the bride's side of the family would take their turns coming up to our table to thank the New York crew for coming out, making the trip to support the newlyweds. And so the mother, the bride, the father, the bride, the godfather, the bride, the friend of the bride, they would all come up to thank us. And every time they would come, I would stand up and ask them our famous gratitude question. If you could give credit and thanks to one person in your life that you don't, who would that be? And every single one of them that answered that question answered it so sincerely, so honestly, with so much depth and joy and vulnerability. I said, wow, this is really neat that these new people are doing this. So much so that the bride's mother, she said, well, this is a pretty good question. Can I bring you over to meet the cousins at the cousins table? I said, sure. And she brought me over to the cousins table and she introduced me. She said, y'all, this is Chris, Phoebe's friend from New York. He's going to write a book about the question he's about to ask you. I said, what? Am I? That's crazy. But
I love that.
Sounds like a pretty good idea. So I asked the cousins the question, and the night went on. A little bit later, I saw the bride's father way across the venue gently grab the wrist of an older gentleman with a little bit more hair than you, Chester. And he started gently,
more hair than me.
Casually walking the man our way. I could see it past the crowd of people, over the crowded dance floor, past the bar, right up to me. And he says, Chris, you got to ask Bill the question. You got to ask Bill the question. Well, that was Bill Gates. And I said, all right. But before I got the chance to ask him, one of his friends came up and took him away for a conversation. I said, "Oh my God, I've missed the greatest opportunity in my life." Well, my girlfriend and I, we started dancing, and Bill and Melinda came onto the dance floor to dance with us, and we all had a great time. Well, by the way, Bill Gates is a great dancer, phenomenal rhythm. But after
Really?
we danced, they go one way, Molly and I go the other way. And I sit down and I say, "I can't believe I missed the opportunity of a lifetime." She said, "What do you mean? He's right over there at his table. Go ask him." I said, "I can't do that now." She said, "You'll regret it for the rest of your life if you don't." So we walked up and we sat down with the two of them and we got to ask this question and we got to stay with them for a long time, listening to stories of gratitude, of values, them being vulnerable and open and honest and compassionate and giving and loving. And I got back to New York City and I said, Phoebe's mom, she's got a good idea. If this question could help us connect with the people that we need to connect with, then other people of this world need to have these tools. We have to write a book to share these principles with the world. And so, at the behest of some dear friends who said, this is a good idea, you should do it. Then we got a recommendation of a good contributing author, Sarah Stibbets, who plucked all the goodness out of our brain with her genius, and the rest is history.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I love that. If you don't do it, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Well, it's funny how people come around. And we've got an international audience for you here today. We got people from the Dominican Republic, from London, Saudi Arabia, Istanbul, Egypt, and even Daytona Beach, Florida. How great is that? So talk to me a little bit about all your dinners, and you talk about all the sparked relationships that you've had. Talk to me about how many dinners you've done and how many relationships you've sparked. It's really an incredible number.
Yeah, we've sparked over 400,000 relationships around the dinner table, ranging in dinners from 18 people to hundreds of people. And, the core concepts are just come as you are, work together with new people, remove the ego, be vulnerable, share some good stories. Here's the video of some of our virtual dinners that we've had recently, and it's such a neat thing to be a part of. The people come, they bring their stories, they bring their goods, and that's all you can hope for people, is to come as authentically as they humanly can be. It's interesting. It's interesting showing these. You're probably about to allude to it, but it's interesting showing these virtual dinners up on the screen. A couple weeks ago, when the world went into a global lockdown, society as a whole could go one of two ways. We either roll up into a ball, be paralyzed by what's happening, and do nothing with our God-given gifts. Or you could turn it around, see this as an opportunity to create connection and creativity, inspire revolution and a renaissance, and be able to give your gifts to the world. And so we made a quick pivot and have been hosting virtual dinners at a ferocious pace. And it's honestly become the greatest pivot we've ever been with in our life.
So tell me too, because with a virtual dinner, you can have people from all over the world. So have you had people like chime in from Europe and Asia and so on?
Yeah, we've had people that have woken up at 1 a.m. in their time zone to attend a dinner. We've had people who have stayed up all night just to attend a dinner. We've had attendees on pretty much every continent except Antarctica. But it's really become a neat thing. The dinners that we do, obviously we're not working together to create the meal, but we ask that you just cook some dinner and come as you are. And the first part of the dinner is quick introductions where we talk about what's our name, where are we calling from, what are we eating. You get to hear the craziest things during that, because some people have the freedom, the flexibility, the privilege to have spent all day cooking, and they show up with like a 10-hour pot roast or something like that. And the person right next to them on the Zoom call is a single mother of 3 who homeschooled, worked from home, fed the kids at 5, put them to bed at 7, and now they're just drinking a bottle of wine and chocolate-covered almonds. And so it really becomes an opportunity to learn about what are the different people of this world going through.
So tell me, what were some of your biggest takeaways from the virtual dinners? Like you talked about the diversity and people from around the world. I know you're a deep thinker. What were some of your biggest takeaways from the pandemic virtual dinners, as opposed to when you're live and in person?
Just how, great question. I think the biggest thing we've found at literally every dinner is how much people are craving meeting new people. So imagine you're either isolated in your apartment and only talking with family and friends via Zoom, or you're locked in lockdown with your family of 8 and you're only talking with the people in your home. And people are missing those random opportunities for connection. A Starbucks, barista, person in line at the bookstore, person at the gas station, person at the water cooler at your company. And so to be able to come to a virtual experience and meet new people and understand that you're not alone in how you feel. Your situation may look completely different from the person you're talking with, but it's a common unity that we're all in this. We're physically distant. We're socially, trying to make things work. And it's a unified global experience. And so to be able to get that, I think, is helping with a lot of mental and emotional needs of the people of the world right now.
Feeling less isolated, for sure. Yeah, got a couple of fun questions for you from the stream, and one that I thought was hilarious is, do you remember the music that Bill Gates was dancing to? We've got curious minds.
I think it was either Motown or something upbeat and funky, because that's also the exact music that my girlfriend Molly and I dance to. It's definitely some kind of like solid gold oldies or something.
Classic. And you talk about passion always finds possibilities. It seems to me that's kind of the way you've lived your life, is you followed your passions in theater, in charitable work, and your dinners. What is it about passion that finds possibilities?
I'd say that it's passion and it's values. When you can understand what your gifts are, what you're passionate about, and what values you stand for, that becomes a guiding light or a North Star. And when you live based on those values on an everyday basis, it's like an aim small, miss small, focus equals growth mentality. Then you don't have to, people don't have to see you all over the map. They know what you stand for and they can throw opportunities your way. The greatest insecurity of my life used to be that I was always the last one called to the party. My invite was always somehow lost in the mail. I knew so many different groups of people that everybody was always just assumed I was being taken care of or forgotten about me. And that's unfortunately what led me along the road to the suicide, the depression, the rehab for so many years. But once we found the dinner table and we started living authentically into something I'm passionate about that aligned with my core values, I didn't have to worry about people knowing me. I made myself worth knowing. I lived to my truth, and that's what made the people start bringing opportunities. And that's how simple life can be.
Yeah, I love too. We're running some video here of your your dinner in Times Square with the naked cowboy and just taking it out into the street. I just love your passion for people and places. So where do people go to learn how to put on their own dinners, and how do they join yours? And talk about that. One of the reasons that you did these dinners is because it's like the cheapest dinner you can make, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, one of the things that we coined with our friend Christy Lawrence was that keep it stupidly simple. Not keep it simple, stupid, but keep it stupidly simple, right? Our first rule when you're thinking about putting on your own dinners, and whether it's team building or client engagement or just bringing together friends, don't overthink it. Don't get the fanciest food in town. Don't make it some kind of 5-star luxury experience that costs you tens of thousands of dollars. Just serve pasta. Serve something you're good at. In our book, Gratitude and Pasta, we outline a few specific themes from my life that we brought into the dinners. Like, I'm Italian. I'm from the South. I love theater. I have a history of AA. And we brought those themes into our dinner. And if you just keep it simple like that, the people will come. They're not here for the fanciest food in town. They're here because they know you will provide a good experience. So keep it stupidly simple.
Exactly. So
The
let's go
second,
to our wrap up as we went the three things. So let's go to the three things. You got the keep it stupidly simple, three takeaways. Go to your next two.
pick a date. Just pick a date. We live in a time where you have doodles and calendar invites to listen to when people are open to coming to your experience. No, just pick a date, and whoever can come can come. But don't make a Eventbrite link. Don't make a Facebook invite or a Google Calendar. Invite the people one-on-one. Trust me, those personal touch points mean the world to people, not when they just get an Evite or an invite Eventbrite link. And then the third takeaway is, it should pop up on the screen. Structure equals safety. Now, you're probably sitting here and saying, I go to 1,000 Zoom rooms per week. Well, the odds are you're going to the wrong type of Zoom rooms. You're going to the type of gatherings where there's no facilitator, no host, no structure. And when you lack structure, the attendees create a mutiny and they run amok. And so when you can actually set an agenda, communicate that agenda, have benchmarks around what minutes you're going to hit what different breakout rooms or exercises, that structure will be gold for you, and it will create safety and ultimately a positive group experience. Those are our three
I love
key
that.
takeaways.
I love that. Keep it stupidly simple. Pick a date. Step into the fear and keep it structured. And I do love it. I want to emphasize that again. Don't make it expensive. People aren't there for the 5-star meal. They're there for you and the conversation. I love that. Well, we've got a campaign, hashtag Find Your Gratitude. And so I've committed for every day for a year to put a little photo up of what I'm grateful for. And so I'm going to ask you, Chris, where did you find your gratitude today?
I found my gratitude today in my friend Bill Tyndall. My friend Bill created a company called Electric.ai, revolutionizing the outsourced IT space. They've raised $60 million. They got 150 employees. He reached out to me last week and said, Chris, I know what you're good at. I know what a struggle it is to pivot an entire business in these kind of times. I'd like to bring you in and have you help us on some things that we know you're good at. And it's friends like that, when all else fails in this world, you're left with two things: your word and your relationships. And when people step up to support each other, when times are down, when people are having a tough time, That investment in relationships now will reap rewards in the long run. So today I'm
That is
grateful
awesome.
for Bill Tyndall.
That's awesome. Well, listen, you've been a fabulous guest. He's the soon to become New York Times bestselling author of Gratitude and Pasta, The Secret Sauce for Human Connections. By the way, buy the book. Don't just anybody can buy one book. Buy two. I bought two. I bought one for me. I bought one for my wife, a couple for my kids. It's a great roadmap to gratitude and deepened relationships. Chris, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. Take care, and I'm sure we will talk soon. And when this is all over, pasta dinner, you and me, buddy. Okay?
I'm so
Well, listen.
excited, my friend.
Great. Hey, listen, our next show, we're going to invite Jake Reynolds. He's the current president of the New Jersey Devils hockey team, my hockey team. He's going to talk about how do you keep your staff and events people and salespeople engaged when there are no events and there are no games. Plus, I'm eager to find out when are we going to be seeing some more hockey. I haven't seen a good fight in a long time. Well, listen, I want to let you know that archived on the Methods Network, you can see it below there, methodsof.com/network. All the shows are archived. Our shows, Marshall Goldsmith shows. It's a great depository of just wonderful interviews and great thought. Well, listen, hope you'll join us again. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday, 1 o'clock Eastern, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, be grateful, be kind, and be good to everybody because everybody's having a tough day. I'm grateful that you spent some time with us and hopefully your roadmap to a grateful life at work and at home. And from the Apostle of Appreciation, that's my sermon for today, and I'm sticking to it. Grateful for all of you. Take care. Cheers.